This ESPN podcast is brought to you by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Visit geico.com.
The Russillo Show podcast.
Hey, it's Russillo. Sarah Walsh with us again all day today. David West signing with the Spurs, and also the A-Rod Stubb conversation. Stephen Vogt, A's catcher, now an all-star after a tough start to his career. Really cool story there. The video of DeAndre Johnson, dismissed quarterback from Florida State. The latest Miami theory on why LeBron's a terrible person. Amin Al-Hassan. We go over all the offseason stuff so far that's up to date. J.J. Redick giving the Clippers an F, and also a story about Ronaldo.
Now, it's the Russillo Show on ESPN Radio.
And ESPNradio.com.
This story, just the headline alone, Sarah, may be as, I don't know if crazy is the right word, or this, if you gave everybody a bunch of crazy scenarios and be like, this one's going to happen, this might be the most unlikely, that David West would opt out of about $12.5 million, a player option with the Pacers. He could have signed a $5+ million deal that would have extended over years with the Washington Wizards, and instead takes the minimum at about 1.5. So he's losing $11 million in this year alone to sign with the Spurs.
He says it's all about winning, and you have to believe him, right? I mean,
well,
how many?
What's the other option?
No,
but
point, right? But how many guys say that? And of course, it's the right thing to say. No, he really means it. And what does that say to the Pacers? I was joking with you. I mean, not only do I not want to stay, but there's I'm going to leave $11 million here not to stay.
This is as unlikely in any contract decision a player has made. You can take one less year. You can take a little less than the max. We've seen guys do some more creative things, and we've seen guys team up and go, it makes more sense to go ahead and do this. But David West, who could still command pretty decent money out there, decides to go for $11 million less in just 1 year. And guys can say, well, he's already made $87 million. Okay, but this just doesn't happen.
No, $11 million is a lot to leave on the table.
I
don't care.
Year,
yeah.
Right. Like, you almost wonder if the Spurs going to sign him to some multi-year thing down the road that's more money. Then you go, well, that'd be a type of thing that would be investigated. Like, you would feel like, okay, well, if you had some wink agreement, and I'm not saying that happened here, but it happened with the T-Wolves years ago with Joe Smith, that ended up costing them 4 first-round draft picks. So, look, I'm not saying any of those things has happened, but you're right, Sarah. It feels like, did you hate the Pacers that much, or are you that desperate to win?
Because anytime somebody leaves a team, that team always feels spurned, right? It doesn't matter who it is. You're going somewhere else. And there's reasons that you get it a little bit more. Maybe a guy's going home to his home state or his home team, or that's where his family is. There's always reasons, or they think it's a better chance to win. But every player out there will say, well, winning, it's all about winning, when really a lot of the times it's about the money. Like, who are we kidding, right? But this is so blatantly, you kind of have to applaud him.
So, right, we have to love the fact that David West did this.
I do. I mean, what are you gonna credit?
No,
it obviously means
no.
that much to that guy.
Yeah, I wouldn't sit here and criticize him at all. I guess I'm just still dumbfounded by the whole thing. I mean, we can sit there and the Spurs fan will be like, oh, you want to come to a great organization? Okay, look, you guys are a great organization. But $11 million on the table for 1 year. Now, Antonio Davis, who played in the league a long time, he had actually said, this I think is on SportsCenter, but when he was with us in studio last week, he had talked about he wished he had taken less money to stay with the Pacers of all teams, and he's basically agreeing with West's decision.
I would have definitely given it up to have an opportunity to be in a situation where there was possibly a championship that could be won. Mm-hmm. So I definitely get where he's coming from. You don't want to be sitting here for the rest of your career thinking what it would have been like, what could have happened, what should have happened.
Okay, so Antonio Davis goes, in hindsight, I wish I had taken less money and stayed with the Pacers because I would have had a better chance to win. That's probably easier to say later on.
Of course.
And then he said, look, there's a chance I would have made back the money anyway. I don't know if West ever makes his money back. I know he's already made 87. That's a lot. But the weird thing, too, is I think with the Spurs and every Spurs transaction that happens now, Sarah, people going, well, here we go again. Like, I don't even know that he fits a real need for them. But it's still David West at $1.5 million. You just do that.
If he wins a championship next year, is a championship worth $11 million to you? If you're playing.
If I'd already made that much money, yeah.
Yeah.
But, I mean, this is.
It's still a lot. It's still a lot.
Yeah, and it's really easy to say that after the fact if you did it. Hey, this is a great call. I mean, what if you're eliminated in the second round?
That's not a guarantee.
Yeah. And that's, I think, the Spurs part of this. With Sarah Walsh today, it's the Russillo Show on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. Surprise someone special with a gift just because. From 1-800-Flowers.com, go to 1-800-Flowers.com/ESPN for exclusive offers starting at $29.99. We disagreed yesterday about the Spurs. This thing's official.
I'll let you
Manu's
change
coming
your mind.
back. I'm not. I can't believe the headlines.
Well, wait a minute. You're not changing your mind? I said I believe. You said I was on the bandwagon of, I think that the Spurs have a group together that they can make one last push. And this was before Manu and then David West. And then last night I said, where are you at now?
Okay.
Where are you at?
I didn't dispute them as part of the conversation. I just said yesterday I still see Golden State as the favorite.
And do you say that today?
Yeah. The more I look at it, the more I go, I think what we're doing is, man, LaMarcus, his shooting alone, you can find a way to make that work with the Spurs, even if he and Duncan aren't the best fit next to each other. That's going to work. David West actually makes him a little redundant, but again, you take David West if he's $1.5 million. You just do it. Ginobili just finished his worst year since his rookie year. Tony Parker is clearly on the way down. Duncan still remarkable, but to say as Duncan enters his 39-year-old season that this Spurs team is the most dangerous Spurs team of the Duncan era is so off. And is actually, I just think is dismissive to how great those Spurs teams were in the 2000s.
But I think that maybe they're not those teams then, but I still think they can I think that they're doing this for one last run this year, and I think it's possible.
So what I did is I just tried to strengthen my point by making up a whole completely different argument.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna have a new argument tomorrow. I mean, who are they gonna sign today?
No, right. I guess the day's not up yet, but. I think we agree that they're both part of it. You may think they're the favorites. I don't. I go with Golden State. I got that. I'm not sitting here saying they're not good. That's dumb, and I'm not doing that. But it's just that
because they've gotten better.
Yes, they have gotten better. They're definitely.
They were good last year.
Yeah,
they've gotten better. Their coach is awesome. They have the veterans. They know what they're gonna. They know how to utilize those guys so they're not killing them throughout the season. They'll do that again, and they're going to be in position to be where they want to be at the end of the year. That's what I think.
We were supposed to get together for the All-Star selection show.
We were?
Yeah, but we didn't. So I watched it. I watched the whole thing last night. I actually thought it was great in Baseball Tonight with all the stuff that those guys did. But then it led to today, the headline that A-Rod was snubbed at DH, snubbed from the game, and I don't see it.
Well, the problem with that is to be snubbed. If you want to go look at the numbers, which is what we always do, and especially in baseball, the guys picked over him have to have. He has to have far better numbers than them, right?
It has to be glaring, right?
Yeah, to be a snub, it has to be glaring. They can't even be somewhat equal, right? Because then it's just a preference thing. And we knew if it was going to be a preference thing, he probably wasn't going to get on. But the numbers don't suggest. His numbers are great. His numbers are very good. He's had a first half of the season that nobody has thought he was going to have. But when you look at his numbers, look at his numbers over Prince Fielder. Are you going to tell me his numbers are better than Prince Fielder's?
No, he's got more home runs. He's got 3 more home runs, but some of the other secondary numbers they're not even close. The OPS Fielder's been terrific, and Nelson Cruz, the guy voted in. So when you say snub, you better have a real
Are you going to tell me that Prince Fielder should not be there over A-Rod, right? You know what I mean? That his numbers are just nowhere as
Fielder
close.
should be there.
And I believe the game matters to these guys now. And they have to. It matters to Ned Yost, and I think he's. What did he say? He said he debated it. And I think that he probably, I don't think he's lying about that, but he wanted flexibility, and you can't argue with him there, I don't think. I mean, that's a legitimate argument. He wants flexibility there. A-Rod has not started out in the field very much. I mean, you're dealing with I can't – when you hear Ned Yost's arguments for the decisions that he made, you can't go, oh, well, those aren't legitimate. They're legitimate.
Now, look, I actually – a lot of times with Ned Yost, I go, come on. But he's right. And then to put A-Rod on the 5-man fan vote, do you really even want to do that to him? Who's fired? That they probably went, what's the point of even doing this? Jason Stark, by the way, this morning on Mike and Mike talking about A-Rod as a snub.
To make the All-Star team, it's not just about your numbers. It takes more than that. You have to have strong support from somebody. And I think what hurt Alex Rodriguez was he didn't have support really from anybody. He didn't come close in the fan voting. He didn't show up in the player voting. The manager had an opportunity to pick him and definitely chose not to. Everybody's saying, well, the game would be so much more interesting if A-Rod was in it. Maybe the fact that the players and the fans and the manager disagreed tells us people don't want to see him in the game.
Yeah, and the idea that writers are going, well, you really missed an opportunity to make this. Things don't always have to be about being more interesting. And I get that the A-Rod dynamic adds a little bit to it, but that part of it's probably overrated too. And I think because it's A-Rod, people want to say, they kicked him out of this thing. His numbers weren't remarkably better than the other two guys at the position that were in the game over.
Well, see, that's the problem is his numbers are good, right? His
yeah,
numbers
good.
are
They're
good.
definitely better than everybody
And so
thought
it's
they'd
like
be.
it's not when you say what you're saying, you're putting down what he's done because he has been very good this first half of the season. He has exceeded expectations. He has been better than what people think. The problem is when you compare him to the other guys that got in, you cannot say that his numbers are markedly above and beyond. And,
Right.
and that, to me, now how are you going to make a snub argument?
The Russillo Show.
Hanging out with Sarah Walsh again today on the Russillo Show on ESPN Radio, the new ESPN app as well. Dana White top of next hour. A little hoops and pop culture the end of this hour. But joining us now on the Subway Fresh Take Hotline, it is Stephen Vogt, catcher of the Oakland A's and now an All-Star. And Stephen, I know you know Sarah well. I know you know her husband, Matt Bushman, and we were talking about you on the ride in today. And to think that you started your career going up and down, 0-25 at bat, with Tampa, then 0-7, your first 7 at bats with the A's, and you're getting sent back down. I mean, at what point are you going, maybe this isn't working out?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm very excited, but there's a lot of moments, I guess, throughout those year and a half of 0-32 in the major leagues before I got my first hit where I just kind of thought maybe it wasn't in the cards for me. I got my chance, but didn't capitalize on it. And fortunately, I've been able to get another shot or two and making the most of it.
And you've been able to capitalize on it ever since, though, Vogt. And I don't know if a lot of people know this, but there was a time where you sort of had to fight to tell folks that you were a catcher. Can you share that?
Yeah. Well, coming up with Tampa Bay, they give me an opportunity to play every day at every level. And, but there were other catchers in the organization that were ahead of me and that had better, tools and this and that. And so I got converted to an outfielder. And, for me being a catcher my whole life, hey, you're going to play outfield, you're going to play first base and maybe catch a few games. Well, I knew that if I was going to make it to the big leagues positionally, it was going to have to be as a catcher because obviously, the athleticism to play the outfield isn't quite there for me speed-wise maybe. But playing first base, I'm not going to hit for enough power. So I kind of knew I needed to catch. So I kept pushing every year to try and get more time behind the plate. And fortunately, I was able to do that.
Do you feel like you sort of prove people wrong? You go to this All-Star game as a catcher and go, yeah, everybody, maybe you should have listened to me a couple years back.
I don't know about that, but I definitely, it's just such a huge honor for me. And it's one of those things that, yeah, I have proved a lot of people wrong, but there's also been a lot of people that have had my back and have believed in me and given me opportunities. And, so I try to say that there's a lot of people that have fueled me to get to this point, but more people that have supported me to be able to get here.
I want to welcome in our news audience on ESPN News as well on the Russillo Show with Sarah Walsh. We're talking with Stephen Vogt, catcher of the Oakland A's, and now headed to the All-Star game as an American League member, clearly, after a few years. And, you look through this whole thing, and I think that it has to feel real now. And you get off to this tremendous start. Like, when does it feel real, and when does it feel like it's normal for you? And you go, this is who I'm going to be now in the major leagues at 30 years old.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of I kind of hit at one of those moments, early in this year where it's like, wow, I feel comfortable. I feel like I do whenever I've been in the minor leagues. I feel like I did kind of play in every level of baseball. I finally got to the point where I felt comfortable at the major league level, playing in the big leagues every day. And once you get to that point where you feel comfortable, then you can just relax and play. And so for me, I really feel like that's where the success has really come from this year. Obviously, a lot of hard work, but just getting that feeling of being comfortable and knowing that I do belong in the big leagues has been huge.
Hey, Vogt, Ryan's going to Vegas this weekend for a fight. He's really fired up about it. I was wondering if there's any shows that you've seen there that maybe you could recommend for him that you really like on the Vegas Strip.
Well, I've only seen one show, Sarah. Thanks for bringing it up.
Uh-huh.
I've only seen one show in Vegas, but I've seen it twice.
Yeah, I know.
You cannot miss Celine Dion.
He's not kidding.
All right? I'm not kidding at Caesar's Palace. You cannot. I've seen her twice. She was amazing, magical, you name it. Killed it both times I've seen it. So that would be the show I'd recommend you go see.
Okay. Now, Bo, how did this work out? Like, you guys had played in Vegas, and then you had to head back or something, and then you decided that you were going to go by yourself while the team went back to Sacramento? Like, how did anyone from the team go with you? No?
No, this is all before professional baseball. This is like back in college, where I went.
That's cool.
First time I went, yeah, it's way cool. Yeah, especially your parents say, hey, we're going to take you and 3 of your buddies to Vegas for your 21st birthday. What show do you want to see? And all 3 of us, hands down, were like Celine Dion.
All right, where's
Ryan's baffled here.
Cool we were.
But Ryan is just baffled right now at what's going on.
All right, but here's the thing. Like, were you classically trained as a singer or something? What's going on? Where's the love for Celine?
Well, first of all, where's the love? Have you listened to her music? First of all,
true.
One, she's a lyricist. She's a great musician. She sings. She's got pipes. Why would you not want to go watch that in concert?
But wait a minute. So you went to Celine Dion for your 21st birthday with your boys, and then you went back again.
Well, I had gone once before then, so I'd already seen it. And that's when I told my boys, hey, we got to go see Celine Dion. And they were like, yes, we're in. Because we always used to listen to Celine Dion and Michael Bolton, just great music.
And you're not from Canada?
No, I'm not. I'm from California.
Okay. Now, we know that your wife is, a high school basketball coach?
Yes.
Yeah, he's a house husband in the off season.
Right, and you guys met in college, and she played hoops there. Now, what happens when parents come up to yell at her about playing time for kids and asking you if you understand what that's about?
Funny story. Yeah, we've Alyssa is such a good coach, and she's great with these girls, and she's got such a great group of girls, and but there has been one time where a parent came up to me and just said, hey, playing time, this and that. And I was like, yeah, I kind of know what it's like to go through that where you're not getting to play, but you just gotta, hang out, stick it out, work harder in practice, try and beat the person ahead of her out. And, I kind of gave some examples from my playing career, but, parent didn't want to hear it. And they said, oh, you don't understand. So you gotta love high school athletics and all that. It's great.
What's more difficult, dealing with the fans and the pressure that comes with playing Major League Baseball, or dealing with high school parents?
Well, I mean, I'll definitely say that being a high school coach has some more difficulties at times than being a professional athlete, for sure. So I'd go with her on the more difficult end.
That's awesome that the parents said that you didn't really get it after you explained to her specifically why you got it. But hey, man, congratulations. Really happy for you, and just glad to see the career working out, all right? So thanks for joining us today.
Well, no, I really appreciate it. This is great chatting with you guys. Thanks for calling me out about Celine Dion on national radio.
Hey,
it's awesome.
It's your girl. You went twice, Vogt.
She is. You're calling me out, and I'm very happy and proud to admit to it. That's the best part.
Right? I mean, just imagine if Adnan was on today. He'd be so happy for you. That's Stephen Vogt of the Oakland A's, headed to the All-Star game. Congrats again, man.
Thanks, Vogt.
All right. Thank you, guys. Take care.
It's the Russillo Show.
Geico presents Strange Savings Stories. Astronomers detected an interstellar transmission. It stated, Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more. The implications were staggering. Was the cosmos telling us we could all save hundreds on car insurance with Geico? Or did their radar merely pick up a signal from the nearby Rufus and Clyde's morning show? We may never know.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
The Russillo Show.
Let me soak you in my mentals here for a second. DeAndre Johnson, quarterback for Florida State, dismissed after punching a girl in the face at a bar. And the video is going to play on ESPN News for you here. We're going to play it just once. She goes at him, and then he just nails her with the right hand. He was walking up behind the area at the bar, pushing through, trying to get a drink. You see it all the time. A guy sees a little bit of daylight, starts to wedge his way through, thinking like he's the guy to figure out how to cut everybody else. The guys are the worst. And she's pushing back on him. She does get her hand up, but I mean, if you're going to do the she started it thing, you can't do that anymore. You can't do that as a guy anymore. That's okay. I'm okay knowing that if a girl raises her hand to me that I can't knock her out. I'll be all right with that if that's the rule for me the rest of my life.
Yeah, and there's some things that you can't. We were just talking about. There's some things that you need to fall on the sword. Doesn't matter who started it. You can't do what you did.
Well,
I mean, what are you going to say? You clocked her in the face.
And so that's why you have a bigger issue. I mean, look, I don't think you have
the biggest issue is he clocked her in the face.
Right.
Obviously.
Right. But since that's an easy one to look at and go, well, that's who was wrong. That's who shouldn't have done it. That's the one that should pay some sort of price. And he is, as he's been dismissed from the team, but he's going to get picked up by somebody else. I think that's what the lawyer's trying to do. He's framing this conversation in the way of, okay, we're moving past this, sorry, and now we're going to make this right. But I don't think the lawyer's ever going to admit to just full out guilt, and that's what bothers you.
No, here's what the lawyer said. For those of you that are just joining us, they put out a statement, which they always do. His attorney, Jose Baez, says, "My problem is my total issue is the first line of anything you said, or not anything you said, anything that they said. It's the first line in all the statement, which says, while it's clear from the video that DeAndre Johnson was not the initial aggressor, and then he goes on to say other things. Like, are you going to read that statement? Well, here, let me actually read it in its entirety, or just this clip of it. While it's clear from the video that DeAndre Johnson was not the initial aggressor, his family wants to take the lead in helping him learn and grow from this experience. My problem is the first thing you say, it's like you're trying to say, well, she started it. You know what I mean? Don't say that. That doesn't look good, right?
No, it doesn't look
good.
That's
what you're saying.
But how many lawyers look good?
How
many lawyers look good when they do this stuff? Like, they always do this. So I'm almost just to the point where I'm more annoyed with myself for getting mad at the lawyer for saying anything because they're all so.
Yeah, no, I can't help myself. But if there wasn't video, what would he be saying? You know what I mean? Oh, this would be such a gray area. There's video, so there's no wiggle room.
None.
I mean, he's trying to find some.
He's also trying to find a way to downplay it. He's also trying to find a way to present it so that the people that are on the fence, because there's always going to be people that want to believe.
How can you be on the fence about that? What is there to be on the fence
because
about?
Johnson's going to end up with another team. He's going to end up with another football team.
Okay, we're not disputing that. Eventually, yeah.
But
what are you on the fence about? In that particular moment of time, what is there to be on the fence about? So I'm just saying, why don't you just be like, this was terrible. I'm so sorry. This is terrible. Let's move on.
I just don't think lawyers think that way. I think if there's any way they can present a version of the story that helps their client, that's what they're going to do, and that's why they're so despised.
But do you think in some instances it makes them look even worse?
What do you mean, the lawyer or the kid?
He can't really look any worse. He hit her in the face, right? But I'm saying what are we talking about? We're talking about it's clear that he wasn't the initial aggressor. What are we talking about? We're talking about what the lawyer put out.
Right, because the lawyer's hoping that there's somebody, or at least whatever new school is trying to debate this, is somebody goes, well, she did kind of hit him first, but it's just not acceptable. Nobody wants to hear that anymore. Nobody wants to hear they got hit. I
just can't believe someone's going to go, yeah, she kind of did, so take a swing.
Well,
who's going to think that?
Believe it or not, some people will think that way. Actually,
that's never mind. You do have proof of that.
Right.
Go ahead.
A rookie now with the Buffalo Bills, Ronald Darby, questioned why the woman didn't face, quote, consequences in a series of tweets that were earlier today. He said, quote, what I want to know is what's happening to the girl that clearly hit DeAndre first. It's never right to hit a girl at all, but they have to get some kind of consequences as well. Y'all can't keep letting females provoke guys in all ways, then walk free like.
Okay, right. How many ways do we want to rip this situation? Give me this. Let's start with the bottom of this. Where's the part about provoke? Y'all can't keep letting females provoke guys in all ways. How is she provoking him in all? Now, listen, she had her fist up, but I'm saying provoking him in all ways. He's shoving her from behind at the bar twice, and you see her turn around and say something. You know what I mean?
He started this deal.
So how are we turning it into this girl is the problem? You know what I mean? Because that's what people are trying to do.
And here's the other thing is I don't know if you had this job, if you were a talk show guy going, well, she does hit him first there. I think people would be scared to even go that direction. Now, the player thing, we had Paul George saying, let Ray Rice play. Enough of this already. And then you go, hey, Paul George, do you know how stupid you look right now with that tweet? It's deleted.
Well, this guy already deleted the tweet, right?
And then you send it, and then it's written completely different. A ton of respect for the females out there and just, just let my emotions get the better of me, didn't have all the facts, and now ready to move on. So I think that's why a lawyer does that. A lawyer will always do that if he finds a way to make it gray enough, despite video. Like, we agree on a lot of this, but I'm not sticking up for the lawyers. Right. I'm just trying to explain.
Let me say this. Maybe you're right that when you said, we're stupid, that we should even get dragged into, being angry about it. I should just be yeah, that's what they do. I get it, but I'm so annoyed by it. I am. I'll admit it. If I'm supposed to take the bait on it, I take the bait on it, and I'm all fired up and angry. I am.
Okay, I think we saw.
Should I know better? But let me go back to my point.
You should know better.
But that's a ridiculous opening statement.
It is
a ridiculous opening statement.
You're absolutely right. Imagine if there was no video. What the statement would say. This was a melee. We don't even know if they were in the same area.
You know what happens. This is what always happens. Well, in FSU originally, we're going to look into this, and you're going to look into it, and then video's released. And now everyone has looked into it. And so you have no choice.
This is Jeff Cameron, 97.9 ESPN Tallahassee, on how Florida State was dealing with this issue, considering everything they've gone through the last couple of years.
The university, having been raked over the coals the last couple of years from a PR standpoint, is maintaining that look, we're going to do everything by the book. We don't want to be sued. We won't want to be called out for improper procedure. The police department is saying we'll be more thorough or as thorough as you could possibly be. Overkill to a point. We're going to investigate every complaint. If you're a Florida State student athlete right now, God help you if you get so much as a traffic citation, because nobody is going to go to bat for you at this point. The spotlight being so bright, the PR being so negative. Now, in this case, it seems so open and shut and so very obvious. So I think it was made quite easy by DeAndre Johnson's actions.
Yeah, I'm not going to sit here now and go, yeah, let's give Florida State credit now for handling this one. And I think a lot of the Jameis Winston stuff, I mean, it's just, we don't know.
There's no wiggle room in this situation.
Right.
It's video.
Yeah,
it's very clear-cut video. No matter the tiniest little way you want to spin this, his attorney or the other quotes you were reading, you can't spin that. You cannot spin this.
No, you can't. But a lawyer is going to try, and that's what you try to do. You got mad. I understand why you got mad. I just stopped getting mad. But I look, you know what? There's a chance somebody will say something. But when the agents go, well, we don't have all the details. Like, well, because so far every detail that's come out is against your client. So, of course, you're going to say that.
Oh, and here's the video.
Right. Here's the video. All right, with Sarah Walsh today, it's the Russillo Show on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. We're going to go up for a few more minutes on ESPN News. If you want to hit us up on Twitter, it's at Russillo Show. That's our 1-800-Flowers.com Twitter feed. Totally different subject. Chris Broussard on Mike and Mike this morning, and this is actually pretty fascinating. The league rooting against Phil Jackson.
I think the general sense is, he's finding out this is a lot harder than he thought. He thought he'd walk right in and, I'm Phil Jackson. I got 11 rings. Who wants to play for the Knicks, And he's finding out it's a lot more difficult in the front office than you thought. There are front office guys that when an ex-coach or a guy that's generally a coach, he may still be coaching, and yet he's the president as well. They take a sense of satisfaction from guys like that struggling, because a lot of times people think, it's easy to, be a general manager, a president, or whatever, and they find out it's a lot more difficult than you thought.
Is that fair? Is it fair if you were talking to a guy off the record, okay, and he works in the NBA, and he goes, this Phil Jackson thing, it couldn't be better. Or would you look at that guy and go, you know what, that's ridiculous. That's petty to enjoy the 1-year failure for Phil Jackson so far as president of the Knicks.
Well, it's a jealousy thing. Right? I mean, here's this guy that's been so successful at everything. He's won everything multiple times over. It's a jealousy thing, right? I mean, this is the guy that's done everything, who wouldn't want to be in his shoes. So you don't think that other people look at him and go, oh, look, back to reality for once for this guy. I mean, that's all it is. Isn't that the way you take it?
Yeah, and I think it's pretty simple math where you go, well, he had Jordan, and he had Shaq, he had Kobe. But that sport, nobody wins without guys. Nobody wins without absolute stud basketball players. But maybe it's because he's been arrogant about it. Maybe it's because his tweets just seem outdated and they don't make any sense. By the way, it's a 1-year failure in a year where it actually became pretty clear that they should go ahead and tank and start moving off of some contracts, see how many losses they could pile up and see how they could do in the lottery. And the lottery didn't work out for them, and maybe it all works out with Porzingis, which no one thought they were going to do. But it's really a 1-year disappointment in a year that they weren't really supposed to do anything great anyway. But I don't know if he's a more unique personality with all that success. Is it just he has 11 rings, I'm jealous, or is it, well, he has his 11 rings, but he thinks he invented basketball?
It's probably a little bit of both, right? I mean, it's probably a little bit of both, but who's not going to be jealous? Like, who's done it better than him, right, in that position? Like, so there has to be jealousy.
Yeah.
And you can mix that with, and I don't like him, but it's all mixed. It's all, one big, this guy has everything, and who's gotten to his level.
The Russillo Show.
Where are you headed this weekend?
To the World Championships of Cornhole being held in Knoxville, Tennessee. That's where it's part of our Sports Center summer series. We're on the road almost every weekend. So we're going to the Cornhole Championships. You win $10,000 if you win.
10?
Yeah.
I would think it'd be bigger. I mean, it's 2015.
Well, there's different categories. You know what I mean? Like there's singles. There's probably like mixed doubles. I don't know.
Mixed doubles?
I don't know. But you can take your favorite tailgating game and make some fat cash off of it.
Yeah, but then I have to go to Knoxville. Not that Knoxville's
You don't want to go to Knoxville.
They have
with
the
me?
Vol Navy. No, I've been out there before. I'm just saying, if I'm just sitting around all summer going, okay.
So let me ask, you'd rather go to Vegas this weekend, is what you're getting at.
Yeah, I would.
than the Cornhole Championships.
It's good. I'm fired up. I'm fired up for the UFC, but I gotta get my act together because I still haven't booked a hotel. I haven't done any of that stuff. So
Tickets.
Don't have tickets. Don't have a hotel. I'll make it work. It's usually how I do it. That's why when you're by yourself a lot, you don't have nobody.
It's really easy to get single tickets. You know what I mean? 'Cause
Yeah,
there's always
right,
the lone
right.
guy that's like, nobody wants the single tickets.
Anybody get one?
Yep.
One?
Oh, you'll
Okay.
find those on StubHub.
So maybe this is the best way to do it. So LeBron, we all know he's going to re-sign with the Cavs, and there have been a few rumors here lately about who the Cavs could add after keeping Tristan Thompson. The Shumpert thing's going to work out. They do the big deal with Kevin Love. And, for months I was saying, hey, LeBron's going to opt out, and then he's going to kick back in here. And they brought in Mo Williams for 2 years. Where are you with LeBron and his power that he has with this team?
He has all the power, and I have no problem with it. What's the argument for him, against him having all the power? That, it's just facts. It's the way it is. He's the best player in the NBA. It's his team. That, you can't fault him. To me, I think, you can't fault him for doing whatever he wants to do in Cleveland, because if he doesn't go to Cleveland, Cleveland's not in the NBA Finals. Cleveland's not everything, the landscape is entirely different. And when you're the player that can command that, because of your talent dictates that, I don't know, I can't fault him. I feel like he can do whatever he wants.
Yeah, I'm pretty much with you there. But the way this story is being framed is odd, and I don't know if it's the Miami guys again doing this. But it's come out basically that, okay, they're looking at Joe Johnson. Joe Johnson's going to be the second highest paid player in the NBA this upcoming season. He's going to make $25 million, just under. He's 24.9, right behind Kobe at $25 million. We all know the Joe Johnson contract is one of those ones we always make fun of, and he probably gets knocked down a few pegs as a player because he makes so much money, and he's just kind of a complimentary piece. If you can have Joe Johnson on your team, that's great. That's great. But the idea that he's doing this to somehow punish Dan Gilbert financially, because you'd be trading for that contract, you'd be keeping him. And the way the deals work, Brendan Haywood has $10.5 million that's non-guaranteed on August 1st. So if you traded him for a $10 million player, then that team getting that contract saves all that money because they just go ahead and waive him. All right? You still would have to trade somebody else to even get the trade to work for Joe Johnson. So, yeah, it'd be a really expensive player for 1 year, and yeah, you take on more money and you take on more tax, but do you think that LeBron, with all of this power, would actually go as far as to say to Dan Gilbert, the owner, not only do I want you to spend money on all these other players, I want you to go deep into the tax to take on the second highest paid role player in Joe Johnson just because I want you to do that? That seems to be a little bit more of a leap for me to understand that he would.
I don't buy that. I don't buy the level of pettiness of it. I don't buy that at all. And by the way, Dan Gilbert already wins. It's got LeBron. I mean, that's the bottom line. If you wanted to be petty, you don't go back there. So the whole thing about that he's doing this to get at Dan Gilbert, it's ridiculous. Dan Gilbert's the biggest winner in all of this, that LeBron goes back there. So win. There's the win.
Yeah, and the part where I don't know. I mean, you can be mad. You can want to.
Do you really think he's hanging on to that? I really feel like he's moved
What, the
on.
letter from Gilbert from 5 years ago?
Yeah, you think that he's in the back of his mind. You had to have let that go when you decided to come back. You had to have this, kumbaya, we're going to get over it. And listen, he's probably never going to feel good about it, right? He doesn't feel good about the way he left there. But at the end of the day, you know what? How about this? If you're Dan Gilbert, would you rather have a LeBron being petty maybe for the next 10 years and sticking it to you on your team, or LeBron not on your team?
Exactly.
I mean,
right.
So let's look at it that way.
And I think Miami likes to trick themselves into thinking that they have it better, that they don't have to deal with this stuff anymore. And instead, their superstar can't even go all the time. And I get that LeBron has this power, and I get that he's dictated so many of these off-season deals here. But if you think that LeBron is taking it to a level where he's going to go, I'll reward the city and I'll reward the franchise for a chance to win a title, and I'll take all this power, but I'm going to make you miserable in the process and maybe even have the team make bad basketball decisions with the roster.
What's more miserable?
I don't get that part of it.
What's the miserable part? How about not winning? How about having no chance at the playoffs or an NBA championship? I mean, what's more miserable than that?
Yeah, I feel like the Heat have presented it, well, we don't have to deal with this stuff anymore. And you're like, okay, great.
Okay, well, we're going to go. They're
going
to win it. LeBron's going to win another championship.
So you're calling it for Cleveland?
I mean, maybe not next year. Do you really think that he's not going to win another one?
No, I think he has another one in him.
He's got another one for sure, and he's going to do it in Cleveland. So what would you take? His pettiness, potentially, which I don't believe anyway. I don't believe that.
Well, do you believe some of it, but not this, or do you? Do you believe that none of that pettiness exists?
Listen, Do I believe that he has an ego and he can run things? Yeah, but I believe that his talent dictates that. And I think when you have someone that's the most talented player on the planet, like that comes with it. And I think more often than not, if you had the choice to deal with it and have the best player, I mean, he puts people in those seats. You know what I mean? So what's the alternative? To not have him? I don't think that's a great alternative.
I'm with you on that. I found that one.
You believe that there's a little bit of pettiness in there.
No, I know there is. I know that there's some stuff, but I don't think it goes to that level where it's like, hey, who knows? Maybe I won't resign here unless you guys bring in Joe Johnson, who's $25 million, because he's really expensive. And I don't know. I mean, it's going all over the place. His and hers today. The title is LeBron abusing his power with the Cavs organization.
The Russillo Show.
And now, for Geico's edition of Stuff Found in Your Car, we go inside your side door pocket.
Hello, yes, the crumpled receipt with gum in it. From your anniversary dinner, you sprang for expensive wine, your server was Beth. That dinner was a couple $100. Money you could get back if you switched to Geico and saved hundreds of dollars on your car insurance. I bet you'd save that receipt, frame it even. But really, where did I go wrong? Was it the corkage fee?
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Visit geico.com today.
It's the Russillo Show.
Joining us in studio, it is Amin El Hassan as we get ready for more of the free agency stuff. It's kind of winding down, and maybe one of the more boring trades that we're like, yeah, check this one out. David Lee going to the Celtics for Gerald Wallace. We'll get your thoughts on that one in a second, because I'd rather start with still the more exciting stuff. Right. The Spurs now, the way you look at them with everything that's going on, and they're pretty much close to being done. I think they have 5 more spots they have to figure out now with minimum salary additions. Where do you see them in the West now that they have David West and the Aldridge thing is done and Ginobili's coming back? We all know the deal. Where do you see?
I think the West are, the top tier: Warriors, Spurs, Thunder, and then after that comes the massive teams that come behind them. But obviously these deals, they put the Spurs in that upper echelon, which they probably were already there, if we're being honest. I know they lost in the first round last year, but this was a team that if they had won on the last day of the year, they would have been the 2 seed and would have had to play Dallas in the first round. So it could have had a completely different path in the playoffs. So it's not like these moves put them there where they weren't already there. They're already there, and these moves help them.
What do you think? Have you ever seen, in all the basketball that you've been involved in, have you ever seen a deal like David West where you just say, I'm going to leave that $11 million on the table? I'm cool with that.
Closest thing on top of my head is Karl Malone. He was a max player in Utah, and he could have stayed. They could have kept playing, and he decided at that point that he wanted a ring, so he went to L.A. and he took, I want to say like
$6 million?
It wasn't even that, because Gary Payton got the mid-level.
Oh, he got the mid-level. Okay, so was he 3 or something?
He got something like either a biannual exception or maybe even straight veterans minimum. But both of those guys, Payton and Malone, they both left a lot of money on the table to go win a championship. It's not exactly like opting out of the guaranteed 12 that you're going to get, but close enough.
Yeah, if you're the Pacers, I mean, how do they take that?
Yeah,
that's sort of you didn't just spurn him. It's sort of like a slap in the face there.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough because he said, I got to go win a championship. Like, well, hold on, what are we trying to do here? And if you're the Pacers, you probably think of yourself, we're one of the better teams in the conference, which they are. But again, I think this is a loud and clear signal that nobody takes the East seriously other than the Cleveland Cavaliers. The rest of that stuff is just, oh, that's cute that you guys went to the conference finals, but you're not really a contender.
Yeah, that $12 million offer, that's cute and all. Yeah, I'll take 1.4, 1.5.
We've said it a lot on SportsCenter today. David West is a different dude. He's a smart guy. He's saved his money. He's one of the more mature, most professional guys that we have in this league. And to be honest, he's a guy that I kind of wish if I were a knucklehead team, I would have him, because he'll clear all that stuff up. He's what we call a culture setter. And for him to go to San Antonio, it's cool, but at the same time, I'm like, they didn't really need a guy like you. They've got the house in order. He's a guy that can put a house in order, but at the same time, I get it if you're him. Do I want to do this again? I've been dealing with the Lance Stevensons and all these people of the world. Let me go somewhere where everyone's about business, just like me.
Yeah, so like another guy that would be like that, be like Rondo going to Sacramento. Just all about business. Clean up the culture. Okay, by the way, you were right. Karl Malone, $1.5 million that final year, 2003. 2004 with the Lakers. The LeBron storyline, we know he's going back, and I love our guys down in Miami, but I feel like every now and then when they can create a story where it becomes, well, LeBron's doing this to punish Dan Gilbert, Is he punishing him so much that he just wants Joe Johnson's $25 million contract there? I think they'd like to add Joe Johnson if it makes sense financially, but I don't know how they get there unless they do Haywood and Varejao.
Yeah, and by the way, Varejao is coming off of a torn Achilles. There's a good chance he'll never be the same again, especially at his age, making $10 million a year. To me, if you have a chance to do that deal, obviously the guy who cuts the checks has to say yes, because we talked about it a lot. It's $106 million in taxes alone. So we're talking about $222 million spent on your roster, and that's without bringing back J.R. Smith. That's with Tristan Thompson at a reasonable estimate. It's a lot of money to ask your owner to do, but Joe Johnson makes them better. Joe Johnson answers a lot of the issues that they had in terms of having a secondary playmaker, having a guy, another shooter on the floor, having a guy who could play multiple positions, so that when a team like the Warriors say, we're going to go small, say, okay, we'll go small with you, because Joe Johnson is a guy, a small ball guy who's pretty big. He's a little less than LeBron's weight, and he's 6'8". So, again, it all comes down to, is the owner going to sign that check?
Okay, but do you believe that, and LeBron has had plenty of, his fingerprints have been all over this thing. Like, none of us are denying any of that stuff, but it felt like when I would hear this story presented, it wasn't just, I just saw it in his and hers, where it's, right. Is he being abusive in his power?
He is, in this sense.
With Joe Johnson.
Not in the Joe Johnson sense. He's being abusive in his power in the sense that I'm not going to sign it until Tristan signs. And that's not about the kindness of his dumb old heart. That's about, we have the same agent. And
well, I knew
right now, there's other, to me, it feels like there are other motives other than we need to have the best team possible. If he's doing this so that he do the Joe Johnson deal, I'm cool with that. He's earned the right to have the power to say, let's get the best team on the floor that we can. But if it's because I want my agent to be, I want our side business, our side hustle to be happy, that he's overstepping his bounds.
Yeah, but what are the Cavaliers going to do about that?
You can't do it.
You're not going to do anything. I mean, so you can sit there and argue it, but
you can't do anything.
He's going to do it.
This is the cost of doing business. You want the best player on the planet, you've got to go through this.
Look, if the Joe Johnson thing happens and they end up paying $100 million extra in tax, then I'll just shut up.
It's a lot of money.
Because I mean, look, Joe Johnson's nice and all, and yeah, he technically makes them better, but there's a line. There's a. Do we want to go this far into it for Joe freaking Johnson?
He's a good. Hey, I think I called him one of the most underrated players in the NBA because of that price tag. Is he worth $25 million? Absolutely not. But he's really, really, really good, and he's smart, and he gives you everything. And he's a pro. Like again, we talk about David West. He's not a culture setter, Joe, but he's a guy who's gonna come in the locker room, be professional, do the right thing. He's not gonna whine. He's not gonna pout. He's gonna.
You know what though? But look, I mean, I've stuck up for him, but I've also watched a lot of those Nets games. He disappears, man. He is invisible when it matters.
To me, that's a function of they had a bad offense. They've had a bad offense for quite a while, a very unimaginative offense, and you can use him in a lot of better ways, I would say. And
okay, but I think we're both in agreement, though, that, like, yeah, he'd make you better, and yeah, he's a talented player, and yeah, he's been kind of just dumped on because of the contract, but there's a line where you can say as an owner, hey, I get all those things, but are you kidding me?
So I guess
Look
the
at
question
is
there a line that Dan can draw? And I think he can't.
I'm drawing that one.
Yeah, Dan draws that.
Yeah, but can he?
As a front office guy, that's when I'm like, look, this unquestionably makes us better. But it ain't my money. It's your money. You tell me. Are you cool with this? And I can't. I've never been a billionaire, so I don't know. I've been in the front office and had to convince a billionaire that a deal is good. But I've never been in that other chair, so I can't say. But I do know. I get what you're saying. A lot of people are like, yeah, do the deal. Yeah, because you're just playing fantasy basketball. Someone actually has to sign these checks, and then at that point you got to defer.
This is where somebody says, hey, guys, the cap's going to go up.
Yeah, I love that. Like, oh, okay. Well, then,
thanks at Steve Snacks. Like this random guy. Like, none of us here knew the cap was going up. And this whole time we could have changed the conversation. I don't care that the cap is going up. It's still a lot of money. Insane amount of money for a role guy like that. The Phil Jackson thing. Did you hear about this? Broussard was on with Mike and Mike earlier today, and he said that other front offices are just basically enjoying the fact that the first year has been a disaster for Phil.
See, I might be in the minority in this. Look, I think they did all right for themselves. They had a plan A, which was Gregory Monroe. That didn't work. Plan B, C, and D all worked. They're a better team. They're solid. They didn't overextend themselves financially. And this is a team that in a year now a little bit more attractive to a free agent than it was this summer. If I'm the Knicks, I'm happy with what happened, but I guess what everyone is saying is because it's New York, you're supposed to make a bigger splash. But I don't really believe in that.
By the way, it looks like this deal is official.
Oh, wow.
David Lee, we're reporting this now, right? Yeah, everybody thumbs up here. I don't want to do that.
Well, apparently you are now.
Russillo said. All right, so David Lee, we knew he wanted to be traded, which makes sense. It's actually kind of fun that he gets out there. He's traded to the Celtics for Gerald Wallace, and Lee has $15 million on his deal remaining, and Wallace is going to be paid $10 million. So basically, they save $5 million for a guy that wasn't going to play anyway.
And they can save a little bit. I don't know if they're going to keep him or not, but they can stretch waive him because his is a new deal. And if you stretch waive him, then it turns into $3 million. So there's a chance that they can do this deal and get under the tax. Off the top of my head, don't quote me on that. I got to look that up. But if it's
it would take 3 years to pay it against the books, as opposed to 10 in one.
But it's the difference between being a taxpayer and not being a taxpayer. Then it'd be worth it. If it doesn't, then it's probably best that you just keep him because I think it can actually help a team like that.
And David Lee, jersey sales alone, Celtics will make that up.
That's another one they always drop, right? Oh, they'll make it up in jersey sales alone.
All the time. Michael Bradley? Yeah, no, you get him in here. Worcester, no problem. I don't even know how many people will get that reference. Thanks, Amin.
Thanks.
The Russillo Show.
Let me soak you in my mentals here for a second. We did a little bit of the Phil Jackson stuff earlier, and I want to start there because Phil, we all know the resume. We know how great he is, but then it felt like, okay, $70 million for 5 years for running the Knicks. Is this a money grab? Well, first of all, any single person takes that money. I mean, he wanted to get back into basketball, Sarah. So, I mean, you're not going to – I feel like there's resentment for him there, right?
Again, put yourself in anyone else's position. Are you going to not take money?
Of course.
I mean, right? Like,
right.
It's so easy to, like, vilify anyone and then put yourself in that position. You're going to take that job. I'm going to take that money, not qualified to take that job.
Done. All right. So there's that part of it. Right. That's always the funny part where you'd be like, would you take it knowing you couldn't do it? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll just get fired because I'm incompetent.
I mean, have me manage something I know absolutely nothing about. Of course. Sure, I'll try it, and then I'll surround myself with somebody that can help me.
So when people say, well, it's kind of a money grab, you go, well, you know what? Everybody ripped Dolan. Everybody ripped the Knicks for saying, bring somebody in here. Bring somebody in that has some basketball credibility, somebody just has equity where you feel like, okay, we have Phil Jackson now. But it's still a lot harder than just having that name guy. Was it Pat Riley that convinced all these guys to go down to Miami? Or is Dwayne Wade still a stud, and they're like, we get along with him, and let's make this work, and it's Miami. You know, there's truth in both of those pieces. So Phil isn't by himself going to hypnotize some great player into coming to play for the Knicks. But Chris Broussard said that not only with this season and the disappointment, but he was on Mike and Mike, and he said striking out in free agency has the rest of the league happy.
I think the general sense is, you know, he's finding out this is a lot harder than he thought. He thought he'd walk right in and, oh, I'm Phil Jackson, I got 11 rings. You know, who wants to play for the Knicks, you know? And he's finding out it's a lot more difficult in the front office than you thought. There are front office guys that when an ex-coach or, you know, a guy that's generally a coach, he may still be coaching, and yet he's the president as well. They take a sense of satisfaction from guys like that struggling. Because a lot of times people think, oh, it's easy to, you know, be a general manager, a president, or whatever, and they find out it's a lot more difficult than you thought.
Okay, so I'm not surprised. I mean, he says nothing there that surprises me. This is your competition, too, by the way. So are you going to be happy that they're not killing it in the office? You know what I mean? Like,
you know, I feel bad for the Knicks striking out on all these guys. Right? You're not
poor Phil Jackson. It's like if he could accomplish one thing in his life. I just feel really bad for him.
When is it going to work out for that guy?
The poor guy.
But, you know, I think it's always been unfair to go, well, Phil just has had these players. Well, anybody that's won has had these players. Think about Popovich.
Yeah.
I mean, Popovich is working in the front office. I thought at the time, like, okay, so now they get Duncan and this guy's just going to come down and coach. And guess what? It's worked out.
Wait, was Eric Spoelstra just going to win titles?
Right. I mean, it's not going to happen without having some of these people. So I always felt like that argument was entirely unfair because if you're Riley and you don't like Phil, well man, you've had the same deal. Like, you can't get it done without guys, even in the front office. So it doesn't matter. Like, that's not fair. But I do think, believe it or not, even after not having a great offseason, I thought they did the right thing during the regular season. Is it crazy to say it's too early to say he's a failure in New York?
You can't say that after 1 year.
But I think more people are saying he's a failure.
Well,
we agree.
It's 1 year.
Yeah. Right. I mean,
now maybe they're going to be maybe 3 years from now you're going to go, God, they were right. After year one, they were right.
Yep.
But are you going to say that after 1 year? But I guess my point would be that you don't know. It's 1 year. It may never work out, and then you can say it. But I think it's a little bit premature to give a guy 1 year. What did you expect? Was he going to win the title last year and he didn't?
No.
So I mean, what do we expect?
I thought it was pretty bad once you go, wait a minute, we're getting on Phil Jackson now because J.R. Smith is hitting jumpers in the playoffs. Because remind me, Knicks fans, how outraged you were when J.R. Smith got traded. Okay, other NBA stuff. Sarah Walsh on the Russillo Show on ESPN Radio. J.J. Redick, apparently this is Sirius XM Bleacher Report Radio giving his Clippers team a grade for their offseason.
We had one priority this summer, and that was to re-sign DJ, and we missed out on that. So barring some miracle, our makeup of our team is completely different now. He was a huge part of what we did, and missing out and having him leave for Dallas gives us a failing grade.
Surprised?
Yeah, I didn't think you'd go F. Right? Do you sugarcoat that a little bit?
No!
Maybe?
No, we're C+.
Yeah. I would have gone C.
We got rid of Nick Roberts,
Listen,
so.
C gets your point across that,
That's
I'm not happy about it. But F, now you're just taking it to the front office.
But that's why Redick's a great interview, is that he'll go. I mean, he's been great on the past. By the way, I know it's Spencer Hawes. I just Mick Roberts and him look alike a lot, so you can make that mistake. F. And the thing, what is he going to do? Like, people go, oh, I can't believe you do that. What's he going to do? Get yelled at? Hey, run laps, JJ.
Don't give us a front office grade of an F. It was definitely a C.
But this will make the rounds. This is going to turn into a thing.
You know what, though? These guys, you didn't think it was that big of a deal that they lost DeAndre Jordan. Those guys on the Clippers think it's a lot bigger deal than you do.
So you're telling me to stop being wrong?
No, I'm just saying, maybe you should talk to them. Maybe you should call up JJ and let them know maybe it's not an F. Because you don't think it's as big of they clearly take it more personal.
It screws them up for this year, big time. And that's the NBA deal financially where you go, we'd rather just overpay for a guy to keep a guy instead of having nothing to replace him. And that's the spot that they're in. They're in serious trouble for this year. But I would say over the life of what would have been a 5-year deal for Jordan, and it looks like, too, now he can opt out real quick on this one with Dallas. So it doesn't mean anything. Like all of a sudden he's going to go back to the Clippers. But down the road, you may be happy you didn't have to pay DeAndre Jordan because I think Jordan is a complimentary player that physically is impressive as anyone, but I just think he's a complimentary piece.
J.J. Redick disagrees.
Well, maybe Redick should watch more Clippers games. I know I'm alone on this one. And I'm okay with it. I think it's funny to think that DeAndre can be a focal part of an offense.
What kind of grade do you give them?
I'm not going to give him a good grade for letting him go.
But not an F.
No, I wouldn't give him an F. But I think I think the bigger issue, Sarah, might be is Chris Paul that tough of a teammate to deal with?
Well, that's what we were talking about because DeAndre and Blake are close, right?
And Paul, by all accounts, seemed almost dismissive in the recruitment of DeAndre.
So does that make the other guys look at Chris Paul and go, I mean, come on, we just, he could have been more vocal about it?
Yeah, that'd be
weird. Do guys
weird.
even care that much, though? Or is everybody just kind of, on their own deal? I mean, we make it out to be like, well, now does this cause this? Do the guys really care?
I believe if you're a good player, you're still going to get your numbers, and you can put up with not being besties with somebody in your team, okay? You can be professionals, not all get along, still win games, and put up numbers. But I do believe there are teams that are all they get along, and that there isn't this turmoil. There isn't this nonsense. But the Chris Paul stuff is really weird. Or maybe Chris Paul's going, you know what, he's not that great. Like, what are we supposed to do here? But they're in a tougher spot. Like, now Chris Paul and his team are in a tougher spot, and I don't know if it's just because of the finances or because of the way they play basketball, or if it's the way that Chris Paul and him didn't get along, petty little non-high fives.
Which is an awesome story.
Yeah, right. I mean, if he wouldn't high-five DeAndre.
The fact that it ever even makes its way to print, I love it. By the way, I lost my bestie here, and I'm not mad at ESPN. Right? Carissa.
Oh, Carissa. I was trying to think.
Is that hard of a riddle for you?
I was trying to think of somebody funny.
I meant you?
No, because I'm here. I was trying to think of somebody funny, but then I go, it's not going to be funny if that person didn't want to leave ESPN, so I don't want to say a name.
No, she didn't. She ended up leaving. You know what I mean? Like, it's just business, though. That's what I'm saying. These guys take it really
I feel like that dynamic's just a little bit different than the Clippers.
Well, yeah, they're winning championships.
Yeah.
Or they're trying to.
And you guys weren't even really working on the same shows.
No.
You just kind of lived in the same town for 2 years. So I don't know if it's the exact same thing.
The blow to my life, I guarantee you, is going to be far more severe than the blow to their personal lives.
Well, J.J. Redick doesn't seem to be getting over it.
The Russillo Show.
Sarah Walsh, I want to thank you for the last couple of days here at the Russillo Show on ESPN Radio. Did you have fun?
Yeah, it was fun. How am I going to get to work tomorrow? How are you going to get to work tomorrow? We're going to waste gas, go our separate ways after today's
We
show.
can still try to find a way to carpool. It'll just be one of us be sitting around all day while the other one's done with work or vice versa. I know that you just read a story that you wanted to do before we got to questions and previously.
Yeah, I like this story. So apparently, this is all over the internet. We're reporting it in Vegas.
We're reporting it
Well, it's
now?
on ESPN FC.
Okay.
Cristiano Ronaldo, big soccer star, right? He's in Vegas for the weekend partying. Apparently, everybody else was. And he found a cell phone, a lost cell phone. Somebody just left it somewhere, and he picks it up. And it's some girl's cell phone, and he contacts her, gets in contact with the owner of the cell phone. So you're some girl that's lost her phone in Vegas, and you just want anybody to find it, right? But can you imagine Cristiano Ronaldo finds your cell phone? So he contacts this girl. She's there with her girlfriends, meets her up to give her the phone back, and then takes them all out to dinner. It's a pretty sick Vegas story.
And they go out, right?
Yeah, and her friends are not a bad-looking group. We'll just say that. Because you don't think he would return the phone if the group didn't look like
No, I believe that at some point he found out that the girl was attractive.
Yeah,
because if you're
picture.
if you're Ronaldo and you're in Vegas, you're not going to be like, "Hey guys, sorry, I have to return the stranger's phone no matter what." His name's Dave. He seems pretty cool. He's into rodeo. His wife is cute, and the kids they're fun. They look like they're drinking a lot of chocolate milk. But
yeah, her name was Austin.
Yeah,
it
right.
Sounds great.
And she's hot, and so I think he went through the phone, or he found out a way. They were like, "Actually, dude, this girl's really attractive."
And he's like, "I'm going to make sure I give her this phone back in person." But if you are her and her girlfriends, you're not going to top that. You're not going to top that story in Vegas this weekend. I don't think.
No, you're not topping that.
Did you have to think about that?
It's
there she is. She's on
it's
TV.
ridiculous. So I don't think he just happened to be like, "Oh, hey, and now you're really hot. This all worked out. Let's have dinner."
But it's an awesome story. But
it is an awesome
wait a minute.
story.
It's not like, I don't know what hotel he was at. I don't know where he found it. You know how big Vegas is. It's not like if he didn't go out with this girl that there weren't plenty of hot girls in Vegas. Like, it's still pretty cool that he did that.
True,
I'm not saying he does it for Dave, who's there, like, on his, with his boys for a bachelor party. I'm not saying he does the same thing. I'm just saying it's still pretty cool.
You're right. He still would have had options.
You found someone's license once, and you went on Twitter and, like, found them and returned it. You're kind of like the Cristiano of West Hartford.
Yeah, except it was a little different because I didn't return it that way. I just found out that you could find a license. You can drop it in a post office box, and it's guaranteed return to the person.
It is?
Yeah, so if you ever find somebody's license, just drop it in a mailbox, and it gets sent to them. So that's what I learned on Twitter.
So there was no swanky dinner out in West Hartford once this girl found out Ryen Russillo had her license.
She had no idea who I was. None. So I was the opposite of.
You know what? It's
Ronaldo.
the act that matters. It's the kindness that matters. That'll get paid back to you.
Yeah, man. Pay it forward. Great movie.
Previously on the Russillo Show.
Stephen Vogt, who is now repping the A's in the All-Star game. I don't know why I'm making that really complicated. He's an All-Star, plays catcher. He's good at baseball. We had him on, and Sarah's husband actually used to room with them on the road when they played in the minor leagues together. So we had some real intel on Vogt.
Yeah, you cannot miss Celine Dion. I'm not kidding at Caesar's Palace. You cannot. I've seen her twice. She was amazing, magical, you name it. Killed it both times I've seen it. So that would be the show I'd recommend you go see.
Okay, now, Vogt, how did this work out? Like, you guys had played in Vegas, and then you had to head back or something, and then you decided that you were going to go by yourself?
No, this is all before professional baseball. This is like back in college, where I went.
Oh, that's
the
cooler.
First time
then.
I went, yeah, it's way cooler. Yeah, especially your parents say, hey, we're going to take you and 3 of your buddies to Vegas for your 21st birthday. What show do you want to see? And all 3 of us, hands down, were like Celine Dion.
You like him better now.
I think it's funny.
Would you go see Celine Dion?
Probably not. It's not really my thing. I don't really want to go to a concert of a bunch of ballads. You're going to be in Vegas this weekend. You could go. Vogt recommended it.
If I don't go to the UFC thing, I guess
if
I
you
could
don't get
say,
tickets,
yeah.
you know
like
what?
Celine.
What's a tougher ticket, Celine or the UFC?
I don't know. Celine he described her as magical.
That she's magical. He actually, I think, was in a vocal group in high school, and he actually has a very, very good voice. He's being dead serious. He loves Celine Dion. But Vogt has a really good voice, and he could be a singer when this baseball thing is done.
Great news.
Thanks for listening to the Russillo Show podcast. Catch the Russillo Show weekdays from 1 to 4 Eastern.
Haven't looked at anything all day. Stories just firing on me. Can't get you.
On ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.